everyone. How you doing? My name's Perry Nemiroff from Collider. I'm so thrilled to be here. Before we even start, just a big thanks to Austin and everyone at the South by Southwest team for making these panels happen. It's much appreciated. We're going to have an absolute blast right now celebrating the new movie Normal and also the legendary Bob Odenkirk. I got a whole bunch of questions. We're going to get to as many of yours as possible, so don't forget to start submitting them. And now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming the team behind Normal, beginning with producer Marc Provissiero. Congrats, Marc. We also have director Ben Wheatley with us today. Writer Derek Kolstad. Congrats. And of course, we have Bob Odenkirk in the house.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Look at this. All right, we got some people up in the morning.
Yeah.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Not working out. I'm proud of you.
You're kicking your day off strong. That looks nice and healthy there.
It is. That's going to be good for me.
I'm up
but
to my
you know, I got to
eyeballs in
balance
caffeine.
out the barbecue because, you know, you guys, there might be some local people here and they know that everybody comes from out of town and they just eat barbecue for the first 6 hours that they're here. And then they're like bloated.
I might have
I
done
slept great
exactly
last
that.
night, and I swear to God, I was like, does barbecue put you to sleep?
Yes, it
Because
does.
that's what it felt like. Yeah, it felt like it was got a little bit
If you do barbecue right, it puts you to
It
sleep
did.
because that means you ate
I
enough
must
of
have-
it.
I didn't done it right, yeah.
It kept me awake.
All right. We have a lot of topics to hit today, and the first one is your journey to becoming an action star. And we have to go back to the Nobody movies because that was your first opportunity to headline an action film. So
Yeah.
when you started to think about making those kinds of movies, right off the bat, were you like, I have full confidence in myself that
Oh,
I
no.
could do that?
No, not at all, no. So I had a notion that because Saul played around the world and that character was kind of like a striver who never quit and who was very clever in his, choices, that if you just added fighting to that sounds like nothing, right? Easy. But really, everything about that guy was like an action lead character to me, if you just broke it down, and except for no fighting. So I was willing to train, and I called my manager, Marc, and I told him this notion, and then there was you could tell the journey to finding Derek.
Yeah, so, and we had something to build it off of, but as you said, your brother-in-law was in a factory in the middle of China, and everyone was talking about this show, and we learned that they were talking about Better Call Saul, and it led us to realize there was an international audience, and we said to each other, like, what are the genres that play in film? Because you were not being asked to be put in big studio movies at the time, and we said horror and action, and neither of us, watched a lot of horror. We said, well, let's try action, and so we said, well, what are the action movies that we would, point to as our North Star? And we talked about JOHN WICK as pretty much at the top of the list, and a couple bumps along the road. But then we were fortunate enough to get literally the creator of JOHN WICK, who when we pitched it to him, Derek just said, "Yeah, I get it."
Derek, do you want to talk about when you got a phone call to waste time hearing Bob Odenkirk say he wanted to be in an action movie?
Well, I love that my reaction was, Mr. Show, fuck yeah, But to me, too, is where we connected instantly was he knows comedy and drama. I enjoy those elements. I don't know it at all. I'm just an action geek. I'm a genre, like if it's horror, sci-fi, thriller, that's my manna, But we kind of realized in that first meeting that a good action sequence plays out the same way that a good sketch comedy sequence plays out. Same kind of heartbeat, same kind of extension of the hero's journey. And we just kind of geeked out in such a way of going, he would even tell me, he's like, look, I trust you with the world build, but can we infuse the humanity and the comedy into the action? And a lot of that stuff that was in Nobody, like, of course, the scene on the bus, was Bob and I geeking out with the second unit guys going, it'd be cool. let's make sure that he hits himself, and he's kind of rusty at the beginning. He's thrown through the window, he loses, and he gets back on, and still, to this day, every time I see Daniel Bernhardt going, oh, come on, man, it's just a joy, dude.
I'm going to make this a little weird for you for a moment, Bob. For the three of you, what do you think his secret sauce is? What is it about Bob as an actor and what he brings to his characters that makes everyone out there not be able to get enough of seeing him be an action star?
Oh, man. That is hard. I'm glad my wife isn't here. She'd be rolling her eyes so loudly.
For me, I think it's empathy. So it's like the action stuff's fine and people can jump about and kick boxes and kick ass all day long, but it's being able to do it and have a meaning behind it, you know. And the audience really, I think, read the meaning more than they read the action in a way, or they have to be equal. Otherwise, you just, you know, if the fight just goes on too long, you just go. Oh,
yeah.
please.
And on top of that, he has the iron will we always talk about of he's not the best at what he does. He gets up, and by the time he gets to death's door, he's hopefully going to win. And then the one thing we always talk about is when you watch a movie just as a fan, as soon as the camera's behind the actor's head, you know it's not them. And Bob did as much as he could, and you can tell on screen, and you buy into the fact that, fuck, Bob's doing this, you know?
And I'll just say, you know, when we were conceiving the whole concept of Nobody and then with Normal, like, you're used to seeing a typical type of person cast into the lead of an action movie. And what worked about Nobody really well was truly putting an everyman experience and a entry point for people into just the ordinary life of someone, and so you know, Bob has done an incredible job of conveying that.
I trained a lot too. You know, Daniel Bernhardt trains me, and out of 8711 and 87 North now, which is a team of stunt people in LA who are like the best in the world, and that's been really fun. I was just training 2 days ago with him at the gym. I keep it up even though I don't have a movie on the books right now.
87 North existing makes me even more excited that now we have a stunt category, or we will have a stunt category at the Academy Awards, because
When's that?
Next year.
Wow.
Next year. This year was casting next year's stunts, and what they do is just on another level. We'll dig into that with specifics when we get to Normal, but first I want to talk a little bit about all of your journeys in this space and how the genre has evolved a little bit. Ben and Derek, I'm gonna throw you both, I guess, two versions of the same question to kind of hit at two aspects of making an action movie happen. So over the course of your careers, at the start of getting into this genre, what did you think made a good action story? And maybe how has the definition of that evolved over the years to Normal?
Oh, fuck. I think...
And it's to us, dude.
Yeah. I think it's always a mixture of the action and the story. They're together. It has to be a strong through line, and getting that the tone of it and that mixture correct is the special sauce, I think. Because otherwise you start to, as an audience member, drift away. I think that's the hardest thing of getting it right. But also an understanding and a love of the genre as well. You have to like it to do it, you know, and I think you see that sometimes it seems to be just they're going through the motions when they're making these things, but it's very specific how, you know, you can see the joy of how people execute action and execute it properly.
Yeah, and the other thing too is I think if you go into something to make an action movie, you're doing it wrong. You look at Indiana Jones, you love Indiana Jones. In the first 3 minutes, you love this guy, you want him to win. You look at John Wick, and I don't believe in anti-heroes, he's a hero. Like, you're seeing this guy, he's in pain, he gets the puppy, things go south, you know? And then when you look at Bob, in both Nobody and Normal, you like the guy, you root for the guy. We were actually talking backstage about the pains we've had with long first acts, but we're building out a character you care for that when the shit hits the fan, you're like, fuck yeah, win, you know? And when it comes to action itself, my favorite action scenes are always intimate, right? And like I said at the beginning, action is an extension of the hero's journey. Everyone on screen has a different narrative device as to how they move. Like Sunday nights with my kids, we watch Harold Lloyd and Buster Keaton and Fatty Arbuckle and all the silence, and you realize nothing is being said, but you understand everything. Same goes for action.
So that's kind of when it comes to, developing a story and having those kinds of goals. Now I'm really curious to hear a little bit about how making movies have evolved from when you first started in this genre to now. Are there any, tools, techniques, resources that are at your fingertips that make something possible now that you couldn't do years ago?
I think that whenever I shoot stuff, I have editors on set. And so we're looking at the stuff as it's being shot. And I think that goes a long way to not overshooting action and being able to take risks and knowing on the day that you've achieved what you're trying to go for. And I think that was a thing before that I felt like it was you were slightly in the dark a little bit. And you might go after a day's shoot, go home and go, ooh. Did we get that? I'm not sure. But when we were shooting normal, we were editing it as we were going, looking at it, and then assessing what we'd done and reshooting bits of it if we needed it. And I think that technology-wise, that's really helped.
And on top of that, he would, after the first week of shooting, he called me and he's like, Derek, the tone's coming out a little, like 15% darker. And we all knew what that meant. And so we just went through the script and took out, the more, comic-y, like quips and all that kind of stuff, but we could do that because of having an edit coming into form.
Makes so much sense. All right, Marc, I'm going to jump back your way now to talk a little bit about getting Nobody off the ground, because I was looking at another interview you all had done, and you mentioned that when you wanted to make that movie happen, you got a whole lot of pushback on it. So can you tell us a little bit about what people were pushing back against and how you kind of overcame those naysayers and got the resources you needed to make Bob here an action star?
Oh boy, which part of the story can I share? When in Hollywood, when a TV person says they want to be a movie person, there's a little resistance, and even all the agencies, if you have someone who's a TV client, the film department isn't really interested in servicing them. They just see them as a TV client, and that happens to everyone. And so we had a pushback, not just at the agency level, but at the whole industry level. The notion of someone who's doing really an actor for TV being the lead of a studio action movie was a tremendous leap for a lot of people to take. And so we just struggled to get to Derek Kolstad. We struggled for people. We pitched, the three of Bob, Derek, and I pitched Nobody 14 times to every financier in the business. The big studios wouldn't even hear the pitch, and 14 people said no to us in this windowless room above the Nike store in Beverly Hills. And then the last place in town, STX, did buy it. And then Derek, we wrote the script for them, and then they passed on it. So it was every step of the way. It was having to convince people to see something in a different light and see this opportunity.
Marc, can you explain how, after everyone passed and Universal didn't even hear a pitch, years later, Universal buys the movie from STX, buys the script and the idea and the whole package? That's
right. Peter Kramer, who's the president of Universal, he had started working with 87 North, or 8711 at the time, and they had done the Hobbs and Shaw movie, and they put 87 North in a deal, which is our producing partner from Nobody. And Peter Kramer said to the executive there, "We're trying to start to do action movies at a smaller price. So instead of these $100 million, $200 million movies, we want to make one for less than $20 million. We're looking to incubate franchises at a low price. Do you have anything?" And STX had just passed on this, so we handed them the finished script. And Peter read it and said, "I'll make this. Let's be in production in 3 months." And that's really how it happened.
So a little bit of luck, and I think a little bit of studios getting into a difficult place, which is where they're at. Don't you think, Marc? I mean, the way in which the industry and Hollywood's dying is like just always the headline forever and ever. But when good things happen when industries are desperate. And everything I've done that has been good has been because the presenter, the studio, the network is either new and struggling, so they don't know what they're doing, and that's Mr. Show and Tim and Eric, and and I think nobody to some extent. It's the same thing. It's like they're realizing, holy shit, we're in trouble. We can't just make, as you said, $200 million movies. If that's all we're making, we could really get hurt. So is there a way we can make these other films that not exactly low budget in the way of like a $5 million, $3 million student film or something, but that old style movie that was a part of a studio's output all year long, so yeah, so I'm it's good when industry's in trouble. That's what I'm saying. You can make it work to your advantage.
I'll build on that a little because I love speaking these things out loud in hopes of manifesting them. Can you each name something you accomplished making normal and or nobody that, I don't know, maybe gives you hope for the future of action filmmaking in Hollywood, something you were all able to accomplish that you hope other productions and studios embrace?
Just the existence of these films and my idea that when I said this to Marc, what about an action movie? I was going, and I don't have the encyclopedic knowledge of action the way Derek and Ben do, but I've seen the Bourne films and I see James Bond when it comes out. I go to the big action films. I've seen John Wick, but I had a thought that most of the action leads are kind of machines, like killing machines. Like you can't hurt them. They never wince. They're never really in pain. They're never doubting their abilities. And that's a kind of hero that's great. In fact, I think I've taken it too far at times. There was a scene in Nobody 2 that I shot, and the director was like, "We're good." And I go, "Wait, can I watch that?" And it was a close-up on me, and I was just in too much pain. There's a point where if you want to keep rooting for the guy, you got to see a little light in his eyes. I mean, if he's given up, then I can't keep watching him get the shit kicked out of him. But I thought maybe there's a lane here for a lead because no one's done it in a while. A lead character who is really struggling and who is showing some uncertainty about his abilities, even either at the start of the film or even in the middle of a fight. Like, oh boy, I'm really fucked here. And I thought that's just something we haven't seen in a while. That's like a flavor that we haven't seen in a long time. So that was a thing I learned, was that was true, that people did like that and could go along with that. But I think it's only to a point,
Makes them feel human and it sends the tension soaring.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Isn't there a James Bond, in one of the James Bond books, there's a car chase and they drop a load of, a roll of paper on him, like a massive roll off the back of a truck, and then he goes into hospital for 3 or 4 months to recover. And I think I'd like to see that in a James Bond film. Maybe do it 2 parts, and you can have one in the middle, which is like a 90-minute bottle episode of Bond recovering, learning how to walk again, crying.
Well, Jack Handy wrote a great sketch. It's not, I got to tell everybody about it. I don't know if it was ever on Saturday Night Live. We loved writing James Bond sketches. And Jack wrote one that's called Lair Under Construction. And James Bond gets to the guy, like Dr. whatever he's called, and his lair, he's not finished, and he's like, "Mr. Bond, if you just come here in 1 month, there would be a big shark tank here. Try to picture it."
I remember that sketch.
Oh, what a great sketch.
I genuinely love this kind of stuff as much as I love, like massive franchise superhero movies. I genuinely am drawn to the in-between. I want to spend those in-between moment with these characters.
Yeah.
I always wanted to see a version of Saw, like a pre kind of film of Saw, where he just went around looking at underground rooms. He's going, I don't know, I can...
With a realtor?
Yeah, with a realtor. And he says, I'm just going to do some screaming, see if anyone can hear from the street. Why? Oh, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. And then quite a long time of papier-mâché, just trying to make the... People would love that.
I genuinely think I would. I'm not just saying that. Let's dig into the making of Normal full force now. Derek, I'll give you my first question, and it's one of my absolute favorite writing questions to ask. Can you tell us what idea number one was, the thing that started this all? But then also, if you had a break story moment, something you came up with along the way that made Normal feel whole and ready to go.
I love Westerns as a kid, and like I said, anything genre. And so I love Bad Day at Black Rock with Spencer Tracy and Stepford Wives and High Plains Drifter, and this notion that everyone's in on a secret, right? And we were on the first Nobody, and I wrote the first treatment for Normal at like 3 a.m. because I couldn't sleep. And then Bob had this scene where he's just sitting on a bus, and Marc and I were on the bus, and Marc goes, hey, what are you working on? I was like, I wrote a movie last night. He's like, what? And I pitched to him, and he's like, that's awesome. But then you get so busy. And then Bob called me 6 months later, and it's like, Bob, Marc mentioned this thing. And he's like, that's awesome. And then life. And then ultimately, Bob called me, and we both had a window, and well, let's go make that thing. But I just, to me, I love that you can take elements of a horror, like what's in the vault, like who's in on this, and then actually take what the masters like Hitchcock did and make it a compelling human-centric thriller. So honestly, it started with this big bang of an idea, and then Bob and I tore apart the story. I went off to rote. Like, but the best part is when we met with directors, Ben gets on, and within 30 seconds, Marc, Bob, and I are texting each other going, yeah, yes. So, these things take forever, but as soon as it begins this snowball down the hill, this one rolled, man.
Ben, I'll jump to you next. When this material comes your way, as someone with so much experience in this genre, what was something about this screenplay that made you think to yourself, this will challenge me in a new way and maybe help me evolve my craft as a director?
I think that how it happened was I got it. Generally I get stuff through from my agent, and it's usually like some really horrible horror film. And the first page, he opens the car, 3 dead children or something like that. So I'm usually no, thank you. But with this, I didn't even have to read it. It was seeing that it was Bob and seeing it was Derek. It was straight away. I was like, okay, it's just now I read it and hope that it's brilliant. But it was, So, and for me also, it's looking. I've been very lucky to jump about and do lots of different genres. And one of the things I was looking to do was a Western. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, fantastic. It's a one-horse town. It's kind of, he's a sheriff. It's like High Noon, but a more fucked up version of High Noon, basically. So where they all hate him.
Fair way to describe it. Bob, I'll come back your way now to talk about, I'll get to Ben specifically in a minute, but I wanted to loop together Ben, Ilya, and also Timo, because you've worked with some of the best as far as action directors go. Do you see any shared qualities between the three of them that signal to you, these guys right here have what it takes to be action director greats?
Yeah, so I cared my whole life about sketch comedy, and I can talk to you at length about that. And that's how they feel about action. Ilya, Timo, and Ben can all talk for hours about obscure action movies and sequences It's what they've studied and cared about, and it's really great to know that I'm in the hands of these guys, because I know what it's like to be that person, but in a different sort of lane. And also the sense of humor that Ben brings, which Ilya is a very funny guy too. Timo is fun to have a laugh with, but I think that Ilya's sensibility and Ben's is even closer to mine than the others. But they're all fantastic directors. They all have a conceptual, macabre sense of violence that is entertaining, because it's nuts. It's like you can't help but smile. There's things that are violent, or you read them on the page, or you hear that's what we're going to do, and part of you's like, is that going to be too much? But then it's almost like they know this line to ride of like, yes, it will be too much, and that's why you will laugh, because you'll go like, come on, that's crazy. And I can't believe what I just saw. So they have a great sense of how to get you there to that magical, this is a movie place. One of the things I love about Normal is I've seen it with an audience at Toronto, and I saw it satisfy that audience so much. And I thought, there's something special about it. It's like a movie that knows it's a movie and is really happy to be a movie. If it could have a consciousness and a self-awareness, it'd be like, I'm a movie. Watch me. Look at me go. And Ben, I think, is the reason for that. And Derek, too, because Derek loves movies on that level. But Ben made it all gel with the humor. Yeah.
I'm not going to unhear that. I love that way of describing a movie being a movie. I mean, it makes...
Like, I'm Just a Bill. You remember that? But this is the little movie going, I'm a movie.
It's the last thing I thought would come up during this conversation. Sticking with working with Ben, so you just ran us through some qualities that the three of them share. What is something singular about him, something that contributed to making Normal stand out from the others?
He's funny, jokes, constantly making jokes. I got to say, that's like Ilya Naishuller, too. But Ben is a very funny guy, and he could just do pure comedy, and he's tossing lines out all the time. Also editing, as he said, on set, and making really great choices right there. I mean, I couldn't believe that when I did say, when we were shooting, I don't often look at my work when I'm doing it, like, do you want to see what you just did? I usually say no. But I said yes. They were on a close-up of me, and we did it, and I said, oh, can I see that? And then they showed me the scene cut together of that moment. I'm like, what am I watching here? I wanted to see that take that we just did. And they're like, yeah, it's in here. And so editing it, Ben's an editor.
Invaluable skill to have on a set like this.
I'd say so. Yeah, I think for any director, it's used to be back in the day. It was kind of difficult to get hold of edit suites or even to get in an edit suite. But now it's on your phone, So if you're directing and you haven't at least had a go at it, then it's a massive part of the arsenal of making a movie, which is no epiphany, obviously. But it's kind of if you haven't actually done it yourself, then you're missing out.
So true. Marc, I'm going to come your way now, because another thing that I was reading that you said about the making of this movie was that you were very interested in making it outside of the studio system. This kind of ties back to what we were talking about before. Why did you want to make Normal that way? What was it about making it independently that you thought would serve the finished product best?
Well, I guess the actual answer would be nobody did 55 million at the box office, and then we're told it did, I don't know, 60, 80 million at transactional, pay-per-view, rentals, and electronics. So what's that, $110 million? And the movie cost $17 million to make. We're very proud of how we made it a very responsible budget. That was nobody. And Bob received zero back end on that movie. That's the honest answer. Derek receives zero. and I as a producer. So we said, the three of us said, well, we enjoy working together. We know how to do this. We've learned the stunt part. Let's go do it ourselves and see if we can participate.
I love that. And it serves the movie quite well. Let's get into some specifics
I also think
now.
a movie that you don't have the studio weighing in on notes and stuff. It's just another level. And we got good notes. Universal was very helpful on those films. But it's just a layer of people that, especially a film like this, that's, I mean, I'm attracted to it because it's a little different. That's why I want to do it, is that story is unique. The suspense element of Normal that, is the first third of the film that's why I wanted to do it. And I could imagine if we had gone to a studio, they would have been like, yeah, get rid of all that and just start having action happen. And I understand that for action genre, that can work perfectly fine. And the audience who are only attracted to action are okay with that, like that's what they paid for. You can't fight enough or long enough, and maybe that's one thing I bring to this genre is I don't come from within it, and I want to see something more. And in this case, I saw in Derek's story this chapter that opens the film. Is this suspense story that I could imagine going a different way and not becoming an action film at all.
I much prefer a movie that takes its time and then earns the epic action set pieces that follow. To start to maybe dig into some of that, I am in awe of the broad strokes training that has to go into becoming an action star, but I also love focusing on the little details and nuances that changes how you train to play one specific character versus another. So can you tell us some differences between training to play Hutch, who is an assassin, and training to play Ulysses, who's a sheriff?
Well, the characters are different, as you point out, and I always like in every fight to have a character to the fight itself. So Ulysses is he's good with guns, whereas Hutch likes to fight more. But I do get to fight a lot in this movie. So, I mean, I see the guys as different guys. And Ulysses is more comfortable with the guns, and he is not as confident in the fighting. And he does get knocked down in that hardware store where you see him down on the ground. He's very lucky to get a hold of something that gets him out of that. But I do think that the similarities are I look better and feel better fighting on screen in a kind of, I'm going to use the term cloddish way, like not very balletic,
elegant,
not very graceful, ungraceful,
sub-graceful,
pounding, like just sometimes they give me moves and I go like, well, that's great because you're a stunt man and you've spent your whole life doing this and you look great doing it. But can we just make him just clumsier and shittier at it? And just what he's using is the force that he has, or the there's, Mr. Show fans, there's honestly, if you want to see my first action scene, it's in Mr. Show. And it's punching the guy, and he's just getting punched. I can't remember what scene. Does anyone know? It's a guy, I'm playing, it's the scene. No. It's not me, it's Jay, I think, is the guy on the ground. But, or is it me? Anyway, it's the detective show. And he's like, that Kirk really got what was coming to him. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh, God, it's funny. But it's just a bludgeony pounding that never stops. It just keeps going. The same punch over and over like 20 times. And to me, that's my style. It's like he hits hard, he doesn't quit. And it's not about, and that goes for both Nobody and Normal, both those characters, because it's me. And that's going to be true of any action film you see, that it's going to be tailored to the actor and what looks good coming from them. And it's how their body is shaped. And, you know, Daniel, when we were training, was like, you kind of have the body of a boxer, so you should be doing more boxing moves. And it's interesting because my father was a boxer. And so I agree with that, by the way. That feels right to me. And whenever they've given me, because they do go, okay, here's a choreographed fight. And we weigh in, as Derek said, we weigh in. Oh, what if in the middle of the fight this happens? What if that happens? And I'll pitch that the fight has a certain character. But they will choreograph a fight for me. And whenever it's been too graceful or a move that's just a little magical, or I always take that out. I say, no, we're not doing that, you know. I don't want to try to sell people on that. I don't want to make them have to ask, could he do that? I want them to go, yeah, he could do this stuff, yeah, which, you know, I probably could. I don't know. I'd get hit back harder than a stuntman hits you, which is they don't touch you.
What do you find more challenging, selling landing a punch or taking a punch?
Oh, taking a punch is harder because you don't train for that enough. I was just the other day in the stunt gym 2 days ago, and I said, can we please practice taking a punch? Because I'm very aware that I haven't practiced that as much as giving the violence, which I think it's, you know, especially the way I want to play these guys, the kind of character I want to be in these films. I want to be a person who gets hurt. I want to be a person who degrades as the fight goes. You know how often in an action movie, you're like, oh boy, he got hit really hard. And then you're like, you forget that he even got hit because he's fighting with just as much energy as when he started. By the way, this is an issue I have with all entertainment. All entertainment.
Look at me.
All entertainment. Not just action films, not just me on screen. If you're an actor, please, filmmakers, listen, I beg you, and your character is talking to their husband or wife or whoever, and it's nighttime, they've been up all day. Tell them to be a little tired. You know how often you see a scene and you're like, they're as fresh as a daisy, and it's
But we
3 a.m.
have the other thing, my wife and I, when we watch stuff, we see a scene, we go, they just had lunch. Because they're all like full of potatoes or something like that. Oh. You've got to be really careful with what you eat, I think, on set.
But that's because sometimes you wake up and the first scene is the scene where you're going to bed, you know, and you're like, you got that great morning energy. Your character doesn't have that.
You just walked yourself into one of my favorite questions to ask an actor. What is this seemingly simple, everyday thing that a human being does that is the toughest to replicate?
Waking up.
Such a good example.
And how often do you have to do that in movies and TV shows? Because that first moment, oftentimes middle of the night, wake up, phone ringing, or bothersome thoughts. Yes? Yes, writers? He's tortured by his dream, and he must, or a dream, waking up from a dream. Mm-hmm. These, which normal, the first thing you see in the trailer is him being woken up by a memory. And and I hope that you notice how haggard I look and how much I look like a guy who's actually been asleep for 6 hours. And so it goes waking up. This is, by the way, Ray Seahorn and I have had this conversation a lot. Waking up, and making that real. Not too easy. You're not too awake right away. You got to kind of fight through, the sluggishness or, your body's natural chemistry at that moment. And eating. So I'm really good at fake eating. Really good at fake eating. And Ray and I did a scene in Better Call Saul where we're in the hotel room and we're eating, and I said, you watch me, Ray. I'm not going to eat a single bite of this hamburger, but it's going to look like I'm going to make a meal out of eating this meal. And if you see it, I'm very proud of it. I didn't have you will think I'm eating that hamburger. You will think I'm eating it.
Do you think there should be, after the stunt people get their thing at the
Yes.
Oscars, the eating people?
Eating scene, Oscar, and waking up, Oscar.
Skills that should be recognized. I got 2 more questions I'll throw in before I toss it to the audience. Ben, I'll give you one of them just to highlight some of the really epic set pieces we get in this movie, and also some of the past ones you've done. Of all the movies you've made, which set piece was the most challenging for you to pull off in the past, and how does that compare to the one that was the most difficult to execute on the normal set?
Oh, God. I think the obviously in the Meg 2, we have a giant shark that we don't, as a production, don't get to see until a month before the film comes out. So it's like a member of the cast which is just not there because it's CG. So that was a nightmare. And all the action stuff at the end of that movie with lots and lots of physical effects and kind of things exploding, but no actual actor there. So that's hard. On this, I guess, weirdly, the general stunts are quite straightforward. You're supported by a massive team. Everyone's planned it. It's all thought about. But the main thing that gave me the fear when I read the script was the snowstorm. So there's a massive snowstorm in it, and how do you achieve that? And we'd set ourselves some particular boundaries that we weren't going to cross, which is we weren't going to use too much CG. So if you've got all the money in the world, you just go just put the snow in afterwards. It'll be fine. And spray it down with the money hose, But we did it all. Everything was practical and normal, pretty much. And that was our rule: that if there's going to be a stunt, it has to be real. If a car blows up, it's real. If some bullets hit the wall, they're real. Done with pyrotechnic. And CG comes in at the very last minute if there's someone left a cable in the shot or something like that, or that something needed cleaning up. So yeah, that was. We learned how to make snow, which I didn't think was a skill as an adult I'd ever have to have. And in terms of how snow is captured on screen as well, which is not just as easy as just blowing a load of foam in the air. It's actually, there's a science to it, which we had to learn very fast.
A detail people could overthink, but it's really important to the style, tone, and texture of the movie, and it contributes to making sure it's a world you feel enveloped in.
If anyone wants to know, which you don't, I can tell, but it's snow only comes into focus at a certain distance, and a certain distance away from it becomes mist. So you don't have to throw the snow deep into the background. You really just have to throw it in front of the lens in the focal distance from the camera, which took a bit of playing around to find that out. You don't have to do half as much work, which was great.
All right, I'm seeing
You had a good snow team too, right? Those guys who made the snow
team. Yeah, it was a crack snow team, and it was the snow team. The physical effects team was split into 2 groups: the blowing up stuff people and the snow people. We had to have a separate team for the snow because it was so involved.
They despised each other.
They hated each other. Yeah, there'd be fights like in a brawl in a bar.
Dude, the snow was smoke, finely shredded paper, and bubbles.
Snow recipes fascinate me. Yeah. Snow recipes and fake vomit recipes. That's the information everybody wants to know. I am seeing some great questions on our board here. The first one I'll give you all is from Ryan. While movie theaters struggle during this time and as action films evolve, how do you all see them to continue to bring audiences back to the big screen?
What I would say about this is one of my favorite experiences in movies ever was my wife was managing the ArcLight Theater in Hollywood, and there was this tiny little movie that was going to be in its smallest theater, 81 seats, and it was called The Raid. And I watched that movie, and at a certain point, I leaned forward during the hallway scene where you get that reverse guillotine. And I'm just looking around because I'm in there alone, and there's this 70-year-old Korean guy down at the end of the row, and he looks at me, he goes, "Did you see that?" And I was like, fuck yeah. And so to me, what I love about movies in the theater, especially action, especially horror, is just the experience with the community. And I fucking love that. And I swear too much, I apologize.
I think Weapons did so well. That was really great and encouraging. It's sort of a statement about if you make a movie that is satisfying, people will tell other people, you got to go see it in a theater. It's a very satisfying movie experience. And people are vaguely remember where their theater is in their town. Wait, wasn't there one over? I think I can find it. It's a struggle for sure. There's unquestionably, it is a struggle. And so I'm hoping that this film, Normal, is in the way that Weapons was like, just go, you're gonna have a great time. That's the bar we're trying to match.
Yeah. I totally agree. I don't know. I mean, I think what we're fighting against is massive televisions, and the fact that it's not as unique anymore as it was. But I think that the thing I felt when we saw Normal in Toronto at the Midnight Madness was the sound and the scale of the image, and the fact that it felt totally wrapped around you, and then also obviously on top of that the audience participation was, it's a totally different experience. And what frustrates me a lot is, having made a lot of movies, over the last few years I feel like the reviews are coming from people watching them on TV as well, or watching them on monitors, and you can tell, and it's like, and they're multitasking and doing something else as they're writing all the stuff. So it's like I think that, if we want to keep it, we all have to keep going,
Yeah, from the inception of this movie, it's been a North Star for us to make a movie that people want to see in theaters. You want to build a movie from scratch toward the medium you're going to be playing on. And because there are so many ways to watch it outside of a theater, you have to be more intentional with that than ever before. So at every turn, we thought, how can we tell this incredible story, character forward, which is sort of like, with Ben at the helm and Derek's writing and the way Bob thinks about character and such. Our films are always more character forward. It's almost like a drama that turns into an action movie rather than the typical formula of an action movie. And really diving deep with those tensions. But what I'm getting to is you have to build a satisfying big experience to justify the $16 and going to the movie theater. And we've thought about that every step of the way. And I believe that the more film thinks about that, the more people think about that. Like, what do people actually want to watch together and build toward that?
For anyone who's going to see this tonight at the Paramount, you are in for such a treat. I think I said this to one of you before, but your movie for the South by Southwest audience in that particular packed house, like, it just feels like it's going to be an electric combination for me. Next up, we've got a question from Jake. In the panel's opinion, with Hollywood's desire for lower budget action film franchises, can it introduce a new cohort of creative filmmakers and styles in the future?
I'm going to say yeah to that, definitely. I think that if some films work in this space of the budget and all, that it will open things up, absolutely.
I'd say, too, that we can't do a Fast and the Furious car chase, but then you look at something like Atomic Blonde, where Charlize Theron beats the shit out of those guys in the moving car. I think that's better. I love the Die Hard movies, but one of my favorite sequences is Die Hard and a Vengeance, when he fights the crooked cops in the elevator. It's intimate, it's dirty, it's messy, it's funny. And so when you look at lower budget, everything we do when we're constrained by that is let's paint ourselves into a corner and figure our way out, because when we do, that's better. We're not going to buy our way out, we're going to work our way out.
I think with the technology is helping everybody, and I think that the cameras are better than they ever were. They're totally within the reach of most people now. And if you can't get the most, even 2 generations back is good enough. It doesn't have to be the tippy-toppiest version of it. And I think that there's obviously there's a lot of homegrown horror, but I think there can be homegrown action as well. I don't see why that should be held back. Just be safe when you do it.
Absolutely. I mean, there's never. Bob said that at the beginning of this panel. When there is a crisis, that just means there's an opportunity, and if you can make a short film, even if it's a short film, if that's all the money you have, and it breaks through and it expresses a new voice, and you can do it economically, there's no question there's a huge appetite for that.
I'm going to jump to Marie's question, because this kind of leans into some of that. To Ben's point on editing from his phone, what are the panel's thoughts on the best or the worst ways technology is impacting filmmaking?
AI. It's the worst. But I think it's the illusion that you can actually make movies with AI. I think there's elements of AI that help. I mean, it's already getting into the post kind of pipeline and helps with rotoscoping and things like that. But the idea that all you have to do is write down a prompt that will make a movie that everyone's going to want to go and see is a bit of a lie being sold by Snake oil salesman. I don't think it's coming. I'm prepared for this clip to appear on the internet in 5 years' time, making me look like an idiot, but it wouldn't be the first time.
And on the positive side, I'd say just the accessibility to both technology and an audience. Like when my wife was in film school 22 years ago, she would finish a short film and then would have to push a button for it to render, and it would take 15 hours. And you were always hoping that there wasn't one frame, because then you would have to do it again. And now it's just all real time. And on top of that, when you think of in 1999, 2000, and I moved to Hollywood, no one would accept a PDF. I'm sending physical scripts. And yet you look at filmmakers as well with YouTube, you have the ability for people to see your shit, to read your shit, and more importantly, to find a community that encourages you, because none of us can do this alone.
Anything you want to add, Bob, Mark?
No, I think these guys covered it. I think that people are always going to want to hear a story told by another person. Just, I don't know. My gut is that's part of the story, is the storyteller. So if it's a machine did this, I don't know if I would ever be attracted to that. It's weird. It's almost like no matter how good it would be, I wouldn't care, because the person didn't tell it to me. I don't know. Something missing from the whole thing. It's like you're taking out, but that's part of the story. Mm-hmm. So what do you mean a machine did it? I don't know.
Could not agree more.
I mean, I'm sort of a Luddite when it comes to technology, so, you know, I defer to these guys on that, and then I agree with what Ben and everyone is saying quite a bit.
Sitting next to people with a good compass in that respect, so I
yeah,
appreciate that.
we believe people want to listen to people tell stories, yes.
All right, let's jump to Jazzy's question. Nobody and John Wick have some of the best opening acts of the genre. Could you talk about the creative process and importance of strong opening acts? I love this question.
It's what you're talking about this backstage. We struggled on both of those movies with studios, with audiences, with all the testing, because they're long first acts, you know, and personally I like a long first act. You get to know the character, you get to know the dynamics, you have this sense of impending that comes into play. And one of the things that was most important to us when we were doing Nobody is making sure that you realize off the bat that Hutch and his wife love each other. There's just a divide, that Hutch loves his kids. There's just a divide, that Hutch is trapped, that Hutch needs this thing. And in John Wick, when you look at that opening, there isn't a lot of dialogue. It's a silent movie. It's like, why is he driving his car at the airport? You know, why is he doing this or that? And then, to me, it's really setting the stage for, yeah, we're getting to it, but do you give a shit about the lead? Because I hope you do, because when things go, you're like on this roller coaster and you just want him to win. That's why I love these movies, man.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think about it. Derek's written so many movies. I mean, opening acts are supremely important, like he says, for you to care about the character. You know, sometimes when people send me or want to send me a script, especially if they're like, I want your opinion on it as young people who are writing a script, I'll say, just send me the first 25 pages. And what I'm trying to do is both read it myself and ask myself, is this compelling to me? But I'm also trying to send them a mental signal of like, oh, what's my first 25 pages? And I'm trying to share with them the importance of that first 25 pages. Because if those don't work, it doesn't matter what you have on page 42. No one cares. No one's going to watch page 68 because you got to care in the first 25 pages. The audience gives you some leeway. They give you a few minutes. I don't know what you guys think it is, but I think they give you up to like 10 minutes to like find your core.
It's weird, isn't it? Because it's kind of, in a way, that a lot of focus is put on the last 6 minutes, the last 6 pages when you've made the film. That's one of the most important things, because it's the thing you remember as you walk out. But yeah, if the beginning is not set up properly, then you're doomed. But reading, I think, is a different thing. The read of it has to be super well written in the first 25 pages. But the actual whole body of the script, it's that, but also the last bit.
It just couldn't be more important. And there's so many films where I don't want to name names, but it could be your favorite film. But if you really were to break it down, very often you'll find moments and scenes that don't work, but rarely will you find those in the first 10 minutes. Rarely will you go like, well, I didn't give a shit until 15 minutes in. I mean, that's just, you're not watching that movie. But if you love the first 10 minutes and it gets you and it pulls you along, then there can be all kinds of hesitations and uncertainties as you tell that story. And your brain just goes, so what? Let's go. Keep going. Yeah.
So true. Before this gets drowned out by applause, I think you're all going to want to know this information as we wind down here. Normal is screening tonight at the Paramount Theater. And not only is it screening there, it's screening there in 35, which is the coolest thing ever. And then on top of that, the South by screening is only the first stop on the Normal road show, where, Bob, you're going to be traveling around from city to city, and they're all going to screen the movie in 35. And those locations are Boston, Chicago, of course, Normal, Illinois, Miami, New York, and LA. And then after that, Normal hits theaters nationwide on April 17th. So make sure you spread the word. To all of you for being here, thank you. To everybody who submitted questions,
Thanks, guys.
thank you for sharing your process with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.